Peace, peace. What's the word? What's happening, everybody? Hopefully, everybody is having a powerful, peaceful, and productive Sunday. Hopefully, the weekend has been going good for you all. And hopefully, y'all got about an hour or so to tap in with the kid on this wonderful Sunday and listen to the build, add on all that good stuff, man. Y'all see the subject matter for the day, man. We're going to tap in and build on anger, frustration, and all of that within the Black community, specifically in regard to Black men and all the suppressed anger and emotions that we deal with and how it affects us and how it affects and impacts the community. But before I tap into that subject matter, man, y'all already know how I go. Let me know how y'all living and feeling on this wonderful Sunday before I start my build. So what's the word, man? How we living? How we holding up on this wonderful Sunday? Tap in with me. The intellectual soapbox piece. What's happening? What's the word? How we living? How we feeling on this wonderful Sunday, man? What's the word on y'all side of town? Yeah, we got an important bill. This is important, man. I feel like this is one of those subjects that we don't build on enough, you know, especially the brothers, man. Well, again, we sweep this under the rug. We suppress this energy. We suppress our emotions and feelings and things like that. And that leads to bigger problems down the line. DJ Elmo, what's happening? Peace. Magic, peace. What's happening? What's the word? How we living? How we feeling? You know what's good, brothers, man? We gotta start dealing with our anger. Gotta start dealing with our anger in a better manner than how we traditionally or typically deal with it. Hey, LG, peace, what's happening? Lindell, peace, what's happening? What's the word, man? How y'all living and feeling on this wonderful Sunday, man? Tap in. Hopefully y'all got about an hour or so. Listen to the build, man. I'm trying to stay consistent and committed to my Sundays, man. I'm not trying to, I'm doing it. You know, the only time I may not tap in on a Sunday is if I got something going on, man. But this is like the new schedule as far as my live streams go, until I feel like turning it up a notch and add another day, so on and so forth, man. But we're going to start with these Sundays. I feel like it's working well for your boy. But tap in, man. We got to talk about anger, man. Talk about anger, something that impacts a lot of us brothers, man. I haven't come across a brother who doesn't have suppressed rage and anger and frustration. It affects some of us more than others, but every brother I come across, man, we got this energy that we suppressing. We got this energy we suppressing, man, and it's tearing us up. She, peace, what's happening? Hey, glad you tapped in, man. Glad you tapped in. You know, that's why the life expectancy for the Black man tends to be what it is. You know, at the end of the day, we at the bottom when it comes to life expectancy amongst all these other ethnic groups and whatnot. We are at the bottom. And a lot of that is because of the suppressed rage. And I feel like it's way worse for us compared to any other ethnic group, compared to any other gender and all of that type of stuff, man. We got it the worst, man. So we got to work on better ways, man, to vent out our frustrations. For real. Like, for real. Every brother that's tapped in right now, I promise you, I know that y'all got some energy, some angry energy that y'all have suppressed, man, that y'all haven't vented out, that y'all haven't talked to anybody about, that y'all just hold it in. And it's impacting you in so many different ways that you're not even privy to, that you're not even hip to. Health complications, all of that type of stuff, man. They say that's one of the leading causes of dis-ease, man. Unresolved conflicts. How many unresolved conflicts do you have right now? You know, ask yourself a simple question like that, man. How many unresolved conflicts do you have right now? Like, how many things have happened to you that you just buried instead of like coming to a conclusion or reaching a conclusion about? Like, how many things do you got existing within you right now that's very deep that you have not resolved? Those are causing problems within you, fam. You know, unresolved conflicts, man. Things that happened to you back in the day that you have not resolved, you just buried them. Like, how many of those things you got going on right now? I feel like the brothers, we tend to have a lot more of that going on because, again, it's a lot of that stems with the way we were raised and how we were brought up, the upbringing. You know, a lot of those situations, we were taught to just move on. We were taught to like not cry about it or whatever the case may be. So when we vent about certain things In our eyes, due to the upbringing, it looks as if, or we feel as if we are crying about it. When a lot of times that's not even what we're doing. You know, we may be just elaborating on something that happened to us, but we were taught anytime we talk about some things that happened to us that we did not necessarily care for or like, it's like you crying about it. And we were taught to keep it pushing. We can't do all that crying, you know. Lindell, what you say? You have a partner that just did 12 years, got educated in prison, and he says every job he applies for holds that against him and feels it's him against the world. Man, I got a good brother that was actually on one of my streams way back when. I don't know if you all remember when it was 4 brothers on my stream. One of those brothers that I went to school with him back in the day. Sometimes he taps in on his stream. He did plenty of years. I'm not going to put his business out there. You know, he did some years, some significant years in prison. He came out, he's thriving. You know, he's thriving. You know, so you just got to find the right job, but you can't adopt that mindset because you already know, for the most part, it's already strikes against us without us being in the system, without us going to prison. They already about to discriminate against us without us even having that on our record. So you know when you come out and that's on your record, you know it's going to be that much harder for you. You know, you either going to have to just wait it out, or you're just going to have to create an opportunity for yourself. Well, there's a will, there's a way. You know, so the problem that he's facing is not something that doesn't have a solution. You know, so anytime there's a problem and anytime there's a problem, there's a solution. So we just got to focus on the solution. I'm not about to adopt the mindset, oh, it's me against the world. They holding me down. They holding me back. If that's the mindset that you adopt, you're going to continue to attract those type of situations and circumstances to where you feel like the system is holding you down. Like, nah, man, you just got to adopt a different mindset when it comes to that. Because for one, we already know that's coming. He could have not done 12 years and them jobs still gonna hold it against him that he's a black man, you know, especially a job that you want. Like, I never got, when I got out of, I played it the right way, and I never landed a corporate job that I actually wanted. You know what I'm saying? So I never got the job I actually wanted that I felt that I was more than qualified to do. I was getting rejected those jobs. So I had to settle, which I shouldn't have done. I shouldn't have did that. You know, I settled for a job I shouldn't have settled for. I settled for several jobs I shouldn't have settled for. Not saying that I'm too good for the job, but I just shouldn't have did that. I let corporate America dictate my value, and I shouldn't have did that, you know. But now, change the game up, you know, I'm determining my worth and my value. But at that time, I let corporate America do that. I let corporate America tell me what I was worth, and it was way less than what I'm actually worth. And the moment I accepted that subconsciously, that affected me, you know. So I'm no longer letting corporate America dictate and tell me or determine how much I'm worth and my value. No, I set my own worth. I set my own value. You know, but you gotta adopt a certain type of mindset. We already know what it is, man. We already know we got several strikes against us by simply being born black and a black man in the wilderness of North America. You know, so we got to play a whole different game from the jump, even if you play your cards totally right. You know, so that's why we got to create our own opportunities for the most part, man. We cannot rely on this system. We can't rely on this system, man, at all. You know, and that's part of the anger that a lot of brothers deal with. Just the opportunities. The opportunities, man, the discrimination that we face, man. We get discriminated against a lot. I done been discriminated against for sure because of stuff I stand for, me being a black man, me having locks. Like, I didn't face all that type of discrimination. But again, I can't sit there and hoop and holler about it because that's not how I was raised. So I got to find a way or create a way, you know. But that led to a lot of frustration within me, trying to play the game the right way, getting all the qualifications and all of the credentials that they told me to get. And then I'm going out here applying for these jobs that I'm more than qualified for. I'm applying for jobs that I'm overqualified for, and I'm getting rejected left and right because I'm putting black man, I'm African American male. If I would have put anything else on that application, if I would have put white male, I would have got all the calls. I would have got called for more jobs, and that's a fact. I was reading that book, Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers, and that was in that book. You know, that book was talking about a lot of the lighter skinned original people who were able to pass for white. And he mentioned one particular story by this guy, I forgot his name, and he said that guy stated that like he ended up with a good position, good, like great job, living in a decent neighborhood, all because he was passing as white, passing for white. And he was like, if he would have put African American on those applications, or if he would subscribe to being an African American, he's like, his life would have been totally different. Totally different. Totally different. And that's an actual fact. Simply putting African American male will cause you to not get jobs, not even get the call back. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that for a fact. They will deny it. These corporations will deny that. But we know that's some nonsense. We know what's real in the field. You know, so that led to a lot of my frustration just out the gate. Like, I'm like, man, I'm getting denied all these opportunities, all these jobs. And I'm like, these are some basic and simple jobs. And they told me to go to school to get all these qualifications, and it will open up some doors. But I feel like doors was just getting slammed in my face. DJ Elmo for sure. And that's the quote of all quotes. You know, let alone, you could just being an average regular black man is already bad enough. You know what I'm saying? But then when you add on consciousness to it, when you add on being educated, you know what I'm saying? When you add on being educated along with that, like you a black man with knowledge of himself, with an elevated consciousness, that makes it a million times more worse. When you add that aspect to the black man, like a black man with knowledge of himself, that's not about to take some nonsense from these white folks, from anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like when you add that element to it, you have a very minimal amount of opportunities at that point. You almost forced to kind of do your own thing at that point. And we say racism causes a form of PTSD and trauma for sure. And then we got to tap into like the collective unconscious. You know, we got to tap into our ancestors who were not who didn't deal with the trauma, who had unresolved conflicts. Like that gets passed down. You know, so that's why, man, you gotta resolve conflicts. You gotta deal with trauma. You gotta deal with all these emotions so that it doesn't get passed down to your offspring, man. So it doesn't get passed down to the younger generations. And that's what tends to happen, man. We still dealing with trauma from 200 years ago, you know, because some of our ancestors didn't deal with it and they didn't pass it down, and so on and so forth, man. So we still dealing with problems from 150 years ago, 100 years ago. We still dealing with trauma that has been passed down since then. And that stuff is real, man. So that's why we got to learn how to break the cycle by dealing with the trauma, dealing with the things, the conflicts, and coming to some conclusions so that we don't continue to pass it down to the younger generations, man. And they walking around with a mindset that they don't even know why they walking around with it. They don't even understand why they are harboring this type of energy, because it was passed down from your elders, from your ancestors, because they didn't deal with the trauma. You know, they didn't face the problems head on. They suppressed it. They buried it. And now you born out the womb, man, with just anger and frustration, and don't even know why. Like, you just angry. You just mad. You just upset. It's passed down to you. It was passed down to you, man. So we gotta start doing a better job, man, of just dealing with that energy. Dealing with that energy, man. We got to do a way better job. Hey, School Craft, peace. What's happening? Appreciate that for sure. You know, we got to do a better job, man. And I'm speaking a lot from experience, man. I have always been described like having a temper problem. Having a short temper and a bad temper has always been something that's been associated with my name. I don't know if you brothers can relate to that. I don't know if anybody else on this stream has had those problems or continues to deal with those problems. Like, this is not even a problem that I fully conquered, but I'm working on it. But I've always been described as having like a bad temper, a short temper. Man, it's always been something I've dealt with, you know. And unfortunately, if you have been described as having a short temper and a bad temper, then you know this to be a fact. Like, it doesn't matter the 100 times that somebody does something that you don't like, even after you've warned them and you don't say anything, like that doesn't like that goes out the window. The one time you tend to respond or choose to respond with anger, that's what gets highlighted. You know, so I feel like a lot of times I have been unfairly labeled as someone with a short temper or a bad temper, because a lot of times, for the most part, I'm just chilling. It's not like I wake up and decide I'm about to just snap on everybody. What happens is I have short tolerance for just small talk, for stuff that just irritates me. Like I have a short tolerance for it. You know what I mean? So people do things, I warn them, but it's like my tolerance is like I don't have patience a lot when it comes to things like that, man. So I give you a warning or two, and then it's like, all right, dude ain't getting the point. You know, so now it's time for me to respond another way, because apparently me being cordial and me being cool about it, they don't understand that language. You know, so I just have a short tolerance, like something that may not, like something that something that may not bother the next person, or maybe like light and small to the next person, that might be something that I just can't stand. You know, so it's a lot of things that I don't tolerate. But the next person, it may be very small, it may be something very insignificant, but to me it's major. I just won't tolerate it. So I'm that type of person. So it's a lot of things that I just don't tolerate, you know, and I try to warn people about that, you know, but it's a lot of times when people will do the things that I don't necessarily tolerate and I don't say anything. When you've been labeled with a temper problem, people don't pay attention to that. When you've warned them, like, hey, get around me, please, I would appreciate if you don't do this or say this. And it said 4 or 5 times, and I didn't respond. But on the 6th time, I done had enough, so I done went off. So then that's when people come in and be like, oh man, your temper bad, man, you gotta work on that. Like, no, how about people start respecting people such as myself when we kind of let you know what not to do and what not to say when you are around us? You know what I mean? Like, that is the conversation that needs to be had. If somebody is letting you know, like, look, I don't appreciate if you speak this way around me. I appreciate if you don't say this and that. Like, can you just respect that? That's how I move, man. At least I strive to move like that. If somebody lets me know something bothers them, then I try not to, and I do it, then I try to move. I'm gonna try to move a certain type of way if I respect that person. If I don't respect that person, then I'm not gonna change the way that I move around you. Not even change. I'm just not going to monitor my ways and actions around you. But if I respect you and you having one of those days and something that I'm doing could be irritating to you, then I may remove myself from the environment, or I'm going to try to watch that, because I have a level of respect for you. I'm not trying to irritate you. I'm not trying to make you upset, you know. But when it comes to people such as myself, it seems like when we give off warnings, people try to call your bluff. Then when you finally respond accordingly, now all of a sudden you got a bad temper. And I feel like that's just unfair a lot of the times, man. Like, I don't walk around just mad at the world all day. For the most part, I have a mellow mood. You know, I have a mellow mood, but I just have a short tolerance for a lot of things. My tolerance is short. Azure, man, for sure. And that's it. That, man, I'm trying to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. Like, for the most part, man, I'm chilling, very open-minded. Man, listen. Very open-minded, man. It's like people throw me all type of recommendations and suggestions, man. And I'm all like, I grab books, man. You tell me about. Hold on, man. We buffering. See, we getting good into the build. Now we buffering. But yeah, man, for the most part, man, I'm easy to have a conversation with. But there are just certain things that I just do not tolerate. And those certain things I may get passionate about. It's select few things that will cause me to activate that energy. And for the most part, I'm not even going to activate that energy instantly. A lot of things I just let slide. But if you keep coming around with a certain type of energy and saying certain things after I've let you know, then I'm going to choose an alternative approach towards communicating with you, or communicating that point to you, that I would appreciate if you do not respond or act this way around me or say this around me. Hey, Nova, peace, what's happening? But yeah, for the most part, man, when you stand up and you correct some energy, or when you correct some statements or whatever the case may be, like you get people tell you that you're tripping, they call you a hothead, all that type of stuff. I was one of the kids, you know, and this is some transparency for you, but I was one of the kids that I got called disrespectful. Like I was one of those kids, man. I got called disrespectful because I stood up for myself. I got called disrespectful because things were said to me as a kid that I just didn't appreciate, so I was vocal about it. So now I'm disrespectful. Like I just didn't feel like that was the right word to use for me as a child because I was standing up to myself for myself. You know, you said something to me that I didn't feel was right and exact, and so I let you know that I didn't appreciate what was said, and I'm letting you know why I didn't appreciate it. Don't just write that off and call me disrespectful. But I was that kid to where every time it would get to a point where something has been said that I didn't too much care for, and like I said, a lot of times I didn't respond instantly. Like a lot of times I didn't respond instantly. You know, it was a buildup, but I would eventually let you know. I didn't care if you was an adult or another child. I would eventually let you know, man, I don't appreciate what you saying because it's one-sided. It's not right and exact. Like, let me tell you the truth here. You know what I'm saying? And I got called disrespectful. You don't listen. You're disrespectful. You're disobedient. This, that, and the third. Like I was that child because of me being outspoken, me being vocal about things I don't too much care for that were being said in my direction as a child. Like you wasn't just able to tell me anything as a child and I accepted it. Like after a while, I was gonna let you know, like, nah, I don't think that's right. Like I was gonna call it out. So I got called disrespectful. So what ends up happening when you call a child disrespectful too much for speaking his mind, he shuts down. And so that started happening. I just started shutting down. And that led to the suppression of a lot of energy. And that led to a lot of pent up rage and anger within your boy. Because every time I was vocal, every time I let some people know I was dissatisfied or something, I got called disrespectful. Instead of, oh, I'm speaking my mind and it being viewed that way. And people respecting the fact that I'm speaking my mind and revealing my true emotions and how I feel about what was said. You get called emotional. You emotional, you disrespectful, you sensitive. Like, nah, I'm just, and it's crazy how people can bash you and that's not sensitive. But when you respond to the bashing, you're sensitive. And you don't respond to the bashing instantly. You respond to the bashing after 7-8 times. Now you're sensitive, you're emotional. Man, I let you get your rocks off 7-8 times and didn't say anything. The one time I respond, I'm sensitive. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what would happen to your boy. That's what would happen to your boy. Mug's just saying the wrong thing, and I'm letting them slide. I'm like, man, whatever they say, I'm like, what they just said is not true. So I'm letting it rock. I'm like, maybe they just having a bad day. Then they say it again. I'm like, all right, man, that's the second time they said it. I'm paying attention. I'm adding it up. I'm like, I ain't gonna say nothing. We chilling, we good. I'm gonna keep it moving. Third time, like, all right, now this is getting a little frustrating. Fourth, fifth time, it's like, all right, whatever. Then they say it again. It's like, man, I gotta check you on that. Now you keep saying this, man, like it's an actual fact. You didn't put this in the atmosphere so much. You actually starting to believe it. It's false. Let me break it down to you. What's really happening? Chris, peace. What's happening? And I feel like part of that too is a lot of adults just don't know how to talk to children. You know what I'm saying? Like the communication, man. Communication. We need to all take a master class when it comes to communication skills, man, because a lot of people don't have it. You know, just because like a lot of people don't have it, fam. A lot of people do not have good communication skills. We don't know how to listen and we don't know how to talk to people. Thinking we can talk to everybody the same, like that's false. You know what I mean? Like you can't talk to everybody the exact same. Like the same way you talk to this brother is not the same way you talk to that brother, man. Everybody needs to be approached in a different manner. And you got to learn these type of things. And these are things that's not taught, you know, but instead we go to school and we take in jazz appreciation classes. Like I took a jazz class, like we taking all these pointless classes, but we don't learn life skills when it comes to schooling. Like communication skills are very, like we need to take master classes when it comes to communication skills because people just don't know how to communicate. People don't know how to communicate effectively. People don't know how to listen effectively. And when you don't know how to talk effectively, and when you don't know how to listen effectively, how can we gain an understanding? If in my mind, like this is a problem that I see with adults. Tony, peace, what's happening? Like you use that badge right there, you know, that title, that status of I'm the parent. Basically, anything I say goes. The moment you adopt that mindset, you're never striving to understand your child. If in your mind, I'm the parent, everything I say goes, you're not trying to hear your child when it comes to anything because you've already stated in your mind and accepted in your mind that whatever you say as an adult is right and exact, is the truth. So you're not trying to listen to a child. And I feel like a lot of times that's what was happening to me simply because I'm 12, I'm 13. It's like I don't have any valuable input in this conversation because of my age. That's garbage, man. You can learn from a 5-year-old. You know what I'm saying? You could be corrected by a 5-year-old. You know, matter of fact, the younger the child, bro, the more likely they're gonna be honest with you. You're gonna get more of a truth from a 5 or 6-year-old opposed to a 36-year-old that's gonna tell you just what you want to hear. That 5 or 6-year-old, man, they haven't been conditioned, they haven't been corrupted yet. So they about to tell you the exact truth. They about to ask you some questions. They're gonna be like, man, this doesn't make sense. Why are you telling me that? They striving to get answers. So if anything, you need to listen to that 5 or 6-year-old because they about to tell you exactly what it is. Because they haven't been corrupted yet. They haven't learned to put on a mask. They haven't learned to be a yes man yet. You know, so that 5 or 6-year-old is telling you some stone cold truths that you really don't want to hear. And that's one of the reasons why they throw out that parent badge on you. Try to make you feel bad for asking questions. You know, try to make you feel bad for speaking out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's ridiculous. Don't do that. Sit back and listen. You know, sit back and listen. Even if it's uncomfortable, just listen. We always quote Bruce Lee, man, when you talk about empty your cup, man, just empty your cup for a second, man. We always go into dialogues with that cup is all the way full with our biases, with our perceptions, with our opinions, with our knowledge. Empty that cup, man, when you're having a conversation, fam. Empty the cup. Remove your biases, remove your opinions, your perceptions, whatever you think you know, just remove it. When you listening to somebody, man, I'm telling you, that is one of the practices, man, that I feel like is the most effective for me when it comes to listening. Remove, like, empty that cup. Empty that cup, man. When another person is talking, eliminate any type of anything I think I know, any biases, anything, all of that. Just eliminate that. Just listen. Be mindful. Be present in the moment. Just listen to what's being said. Just listen to what's being said. And that's something I strive to do. Now, in my moments of frustration, when the anger gets the best of me, then that's not happening. You know, but when I'm cooling, it's like that's what's happening, man. Let me just listen, fam. Let me listen, empty the cup. I'm mindful in the moment. I'm present in the moment. Whatever you saying to me, I'm fully receiving it because I'm present, man. I don't have any type of thought. I don't have any type of perception, bias, anything that's going on in my mind. Whatever you telling me, I'm receiving it as is. A lot of times that's not the case, man. We basically just listening so we can respond. So the moment you hear something, one word you don't like, you ready to respond. You ready to combat what was being said, what you ready to combat something that you heard. You ready to combat something that you heard that you was not too fond of instantly. And that's why emptying the cup is crucial. Because for the most part, not everybody is going to agree with you, you know, so you got to be able to sit back and listen to somebody who is saying something that you don't agree with. You know, you have to be able to fully hear what they are saying, fully let it resonate and marinate. That's one of the best ways to gain an understanding. I remember when I was working at the gym, man, I had a religious conversation with a client one time. Of course, y'all know I don't bring up the conversation. The conversation was brought to me. And the moment it was brought to me, and the reason why I don't bring up those conversations is because I already know how most of them go. So I just be like, man, I ain't trying to have that conversation because I already know how this can go. So when the conversation was brought to me, I immediately was like, man, I don't want to have this conversation. You know, this person is asking me some religious questions, and I'm like, man, I really don't want this conversation. I don't want to have it. But this conversation actually went very smooth because we both were listening without our biases, without what we thought we knew, without our opinions. When the person was talking, I was just listening so that I can understand where they're coming from. When I was talking, the person was just listening. We wasn't even there were no rebuttals. You know, when that person said something, then I just kind of threw off things that the way that I felt about whatever was said based on my experience or based on what I researched and all of that. So it wasn't like we were trying to go against each other's information. It's like, boom, this is my experience. Okay, boom, this is my experience. Okay, I can see how you gravitate towards that. I can also see how you gravitate towards this. That's how the conversation went, and it was a smooth conversation. It wasn't no back and forth, wasn't no arguing at all. So you had two people with different opinions, different religious beliefs at the time, that was able to have a very cordial conversation, because when one person was talking, the other person was just fully listening. That was it. Letting them get all of their sentiments out. That's another just important part. Let a person complete their thoughts. Peace to everybody that's tapping in right now, man. Terenzo, what's happening? Oh yeah, Roddy, man. Profound thoughts come from children very, very often. But how often are adults listening to children? And you know, like I said, that leads to you. That's when the corruption starts. When you are a child and you feel like you're not being heard, you're not being listened to, you tend to shut down. You tend to shut down. Especially like when it comes to black men, young black men, especially when it comes to being labeled sensitive and emotional, right? Expressing emotions as a young man, you know, as a young boy, was probably the moment you got labeled sensitive and emotional as a boy, that was a problem, because that was in alignment with crying. Like if you was raised like that, that's almost in alignment with you crying. You know, so when you started to defend yourself, when people told you some things or showed you tough love and you didn't care for it, and you verbally or vocally let folks know, then they started making it seem like you were sensitive, you were emotional, and they labeled that feminine. You know, they when you did that, and y'all know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm saying, if you are a man and you was raised like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When folks said some things to you, you were supposed to just take it. Because the moment you verbally let folks know that you wasn't too fond of it, they start, man, you emotional, you sensitive. You sensitive. That's feminine. You acting like a little girl. Like that's what they used to tell us, fam. Like that's what they used to tell us when we were so-called crying about something that was told to us that we didn't like. You know, because they will use it and say, oh, it's constructive criticism and things, tough love. Like that's how they defined what it was that they were doing and saying to us. So the moment that we like, man, I don't like what you telling me, we got labeled sensitive. You acting like a little girl. That's you used to get described that way, fam. When you verbally went off about some stuff that was told to you, like straight up, I'm trying to tell you, because that was me, fam. Like that was your boy. Like I said, I was outspoken. So every time I would go off on some things that was said to me, man, I would get told to stop doing all that crime, and you sensitive. You acting like a little girl. That's what was told to me. When you get told that enough times as a young boy, oh, you gonna start shutting down. Like, nah, wait a minute. They ain't finna keep saying I'm acting like a little girl. They ain't finna keep calling me sensitive. That's feminine. And again, before some folks jump into this chat hearing what I'm saying, like I'm not, you already know the LGBTQ community gonna come in here and hear what I'm saying and be like, oh, that ain't feminine. I'm just talking about how I was raised. I'm not saying it was right or wrong. I'm just saying this is how I was raised. These are things that were told to me. Nor am I saying that to bash my upbringing. I'm just saying that was how I was raised. When you started to act a certain type of way as a young boy, You got labeled sensitive and emotional. And at the time, that was associated with girls, with women. You don't be sensitive. You don't be overly emotional as a young boy. That's not how men act. So this is how I was taught and raised. So anything that was associated with being emotional and sensitive was associated with being feminine, with girls, with women. Like, so if you was verbally expressing yourself too often and it seemed like you were crying about something, you got thrown in that box. You ain't like that. You ain't like that. He was like, no, okay, we ain't finna keep doing that then. So eventually, like I say, you shut down. You shut down. You shut completely down, fam. You shut down. It's like, all right, cool. Every time I say this, y'all say I'm sensitive. Bet. All right, I'm just not gonna express this anymore. Right, exactly. Like a young boy, when you reach a certain age as a young man, like you 13, 14, you better not have said, if another man told you something, you better not go back and say, man, you hurt my feelings. You could, I don't know about y'all, but that's not something. I don't think I've ever uttered that sentence to another man. Like, I don't think I've ever said that to like another man or like a young man. Like, I don't think I've ever said that. No matter, I don't think I've said it to anybody. Like, you hurt my feel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't recall saying that back then. Because you better not say nothing like that. You better not. You hurt my feelings. Like, oh no. Like, to back then, that was like, that's you soft. You told another man, or you told another boy that they hurt your feelings. Nah, like you wasn't allowed to say that. And if that got back around to some adults and you just said that, somebody hurt your feelings, yeah, we got a problem. You know, so and again, that right or wrong, I'm not here to say that. You know what I'm saying? Because at the same time where I feel like that could have caused problems, I also feel like at certain times it has a place. You know, but we got to know when that has a place to be said and to be instructed. You know, because there are periods where like you really literally could be overly sensitive. Like, there are periods. You know, there are certain things that when something is said, it's like, come on, man, we can't be acting that way towards that. You know, so again, we just got to understand when it's time to enforce that versus when it's like, nah, this really is like, you really shouldn't have said that to Buddy, and the way he responding is justified. Man, TJ, I'm trying to tell you, open chest and all of that, you know. But at the same, like I said, at the same time, man, it's like it's a paradox, and it's like certain moments I understand that, but then it's like certain moments that also it did toughen me up. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those type of situations. Like at some moments, it's like, man, that was kind of harsh, but then later down the line, it kind of toughened me up when it came to dealing with folks around me. Like, you wasn't about to bully me. You know what I mean? Like, I was one of the ones that I didn't fall victim to bullying because of the way that I was raised. I was raised in a way like you don't display any type of weakness, you know, because people will prey on it, especially bullies. You know, you gotta let people know, like, we not playing those games out the gate. You know, so the upbringing is not totally incorrect. It's not totally harmful. You know, yes, it could lead to some negative things, some negative actions, but some of that is also needed, because I was taught also that, and it's unfortunate, I feel like the way that I was raised, and I was told this, I have to, and that's why I give leeway to some of my OGs, because the system at certain points forced them to raise young black boys under those harsh circumstances. I was raised a certain type of way because I was told, hey, the world don't care about the black man. So we gonna raise you, not in the sense of we don't care, but we got to raise you under harsh circumstances because the world gonna treat you way worse. So we got to prepare you for the world. We can't baby you. We can't shelter you because the world about to tear you up. The world about to tear you up as a black man. So I was told that directly. You know what I'm saying? So that's unfortunate. Like that we got to be raised under harsh circumstances because the world gonna, if they don't do it, the world gonna do it to us. So sometimes it's better to come from the OGs than we go out into the world blind and then the world just eat us up and spit us out. You know, so a lot of the things that went on during my upbringing, I was told that a lot of that had to do with we just preparing you for the world. And some of that I can see why some of those tactics were enforced. Like now I can see. And so I will say some of those things that while I may not have liked what was said to me back then, it helped prepare me for certain things that have happened to me in the corporate world emotionally. You know, so some of the things that went on when I was a kid, some of the back and forth that I had when it came to my elders at the time did prepare me for a lot of the stuff that went on in the corporate world. So I will say that. I will say that because the way mugs will try to come at you in the corporate world ain't got nothing on how your uncle or your pops might have talked to you. You know, so you kind of start learning some valuable lessons then, but you're not knowing it at the time. Like you're not knowing it at the time. So it's rough out here, man. It's rough out here for black men raising black boys as far as the way you got to raise them, because you can't baby you can't do it. You can't baby that young black man. You can't do it. Like that's one thing you can't do it. So unfortunately, you do have to kind of raise them in that tough manner. Like you have to, you know, but it's a way that you have to go about it. And that's what we striving to learn. That's what we striving to learn, man. You do got to raise that young black man tough, you know, because you don't want a sassy brother out here. You don't want that. You don't want that at all. Oh yeah, man. What Nas said? Nas say business is warfare. That's what it is. This war out here, you know, and at the same time, while we think we didn't grow up, man, other cultures really don't play that. Man, when you start talking to other cultures in the way they raise their boys, oh no, like the way we raise actually is kind of nice for the most part. When you start talking to other cultures and the way they young boys grow up, totally different ball game. They young men be ready to take care of the family at 9. You know what I'm saying? At 9, like they don't even have a choice. You know, so when I'm talking to other coaches and I'm hearing how they raising they young bulls, it's like, okay, all right. You know, so they understand that it's war. So that's why I started to cut my pops some slack, just cut everybody around me some slack where I felt like they was on me too rough, because it's like I get it. But I feel like, man, also, I feel like at the same time, we not taking those class, like we don't know how to thoroughly deal with those emotions, man, when things not going a certain type of way. So I feel like that's something that we also need to learn and educate ourselves on. But when you go into school, like that's not required courses. You know, just how to deal with emotions, conflict resolution, how to have those conversations when you're 13 and 14 with somebody that's 20 years older than you say something you don't like, man, just how to deal with that. And then how to deal with having that conversation from the adult perspective. It's like, man, we need to learn that. Or else you're just going to end up suppressing everything, and that's going to lead to the decline of your health. And I feel like that's something that happened to me, man. It's like a lot of things that I'm just now getting to the bottom of. Like at 34 going into 35, like I've had to forgive myself for how I perceive certain things. Notice I said forgive myself. Like I'm not forgiving the adults at the time that said these things to me. I'm forgiving myself for perceiving it incorrectly. Like you can't control other people and what they say to you, how they raise you. You know what I'm saying? Just because somebody gave birth to you, just because somebody is related to you, doesn't mean they're gonna automatically know how to communicate with you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not how that goes. Like, and I feel like a lot of times we be thinking that, but that is not how it goes, man. Just because somebody is a father or a dad does not necessarily mean that they will possess those type of qualities that will make them a good father, a good dad, or a good father, a good mother, or a great mother. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not how that goes, fam. You know, so it was things, man. I had some experiences when I was a child, man, that I've carried with me for a very long time that just led to a lot of pent up rage and frustration that now when I look back on it, it's like, man, I kind of get it now. You know, so I had to forgive myself for perceiving it the wrong way all these years. Now, I'm not mad at myself for how I responded when I was 14, 13. I really ain't know any better. But once I started to experience more of the world, man, just start to understand things more, it's like, man, let me forgive myself, man. I perceived what went down incorrectly. And I've been holding on to that incorrect perception for this long, and it's been destroying my health, been causing my health to deteriorate. You know, so I just had to forgive myself for a lot of things. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that you have to do when it comes to just releasing that anger and just not letting that anger consume you and control you. Just forgive yourself, man, because again, the stuff that's making you angry right now, like, it's your fault. It's not the fault of the person who did whatever they did to you. It's your fault for holding on to it for this long. That's your fault. It's your fault for perceiving it however you are perceiving it for that long. That's on you. You know what happened, especially if 30 years ago you survived it. It happened. Stop holding on to that. You choosing to hold on to it and look at it in a certain manner, that is destroying you, and that's your fault. You know, so you got to give yourself, you got to let, and that don't even mean forget it. You know what I'm saying? That don't even mean you forget what has happened to you. You just perceiving it differently. Like, for real. Fox in. Peace, peace. What's happening? All righty, man. Hey, the art of war, and you know, they reading 48 laws of power. Like, hey, listen, these other ethnic groups understand that it's war out here. You know what I'm saying? And they preparing their children for that. They teaching them the essentials of life early on. Like, they understand that it's war. They understand that it's war, so they starting them off young. And I have no problems with that. Like, it's definitely war out here. But we are at the biggest disadvantage when it comes to that war. You know, we gotta sort through way more than other ethnic groups. Other ethnic groups can get straight to the point, get right to it. You know what I'm saying? It's other stuff that we got to deal with. It's it's trauma from 100 years ago that we got to deal with and try to master. Like, these other ethnic groups ain't got to deal with that. Like, their ancestors didn't have to endure what our ancestors had to endure. And our ancestors suppressed and buried a lot. So we still sorting through stuff that happened 150 years ago. These other ethnic groups can start fresh as soon as the young bull is born. Clean slate. We got problems that we don't even like, man, why is such and such moving like that? Why is such and such acting like that? That's from 150 years ago, from great grandmother, then pass it down. So we got to correct that damage before we can even start to instill certain principles and values in the children. That's all bad. So we starting off at a disadvantage instantly out the gate because of that collective unconscious and that collective trauma that has been passed down from generation to generation that keeps getting suppressed and buried. Clocks in. What you say? I'll be 25 in 9 days, and I'm still dealing with things I thought I already overcame. How do you detach from parts of yourself that made you who you are? Man, perception. I understood, like, when I was studying, you know, would study Buddhism and things like that, I embraced the concept that said the only thing constant is change. So I stopped identifying with the things that happen to me because that's not me. You know, at the end of the day, you said, how do you detach from parts of yourself that made you who you are? Those parts of yourself, that's not really you. they may have been things that happened to you, but that's not really who you are. It's like your job. Like your job, you are not your job. You are not the clothes that you wear. You know what I'm saying? Like you are not the car that you drive. You are none of these things. You are not the degree that you have. Like all of these things, they are not necessarily you. So I started to look at things like that, man. Something that happened to me back in the day is not me. You know what I'm saying? It's not me. The only thing constant is change. So at any moment, like clocks in, you could wake up tomorrow and decide to be a totally different person. Like literally, you can wake up tomorrow and decide all the stuff that done happened to me up to this point, I'm done with it. I'm about to start moving like this. You have all the power to do that. You have all the power to do. Keep identifying with these things that happen to us. All right, this joint about to keep buffering on me. Come on now. I gotta make sure it don't buffer again real quick before I continue on with this build. But yeah, that was something that I learned, man, that helped me. The only thing constant is change. I stopped identifying with those labels, with those statuses and things like that. Like I stopped identifying with my past. Like my past doesn't define who I am. It doesn't define who you are at all, man. Like what happened to me at 14 to 15 does not define who I choose to be at 34, 35. Unless I allow it to. I have the power. I also have the power to allow that also. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about exercising that power, man. I have the power to allow that to define me. I have the power to not allow it to define me. You know, so that's how I chose to detach from those things, man. Like the person that I was at 14 is not who I am at 34. The person who I was yesterday is not the same person that I am today. You know, that's how fleeting these emotions and things like that are, man. The person who I was 30 minutes ago might not have been the same person who I am today. Like 2 hours ago, I might have been watching something that was making me laugh. 2 hours later, like now I'm looking at something that got me focused. That's a different person. I'm in a different zone. You know, but when I was laughing at something 2 hours ago, am I going to sit here and am I going to totally identify with that and say, oh, I'm a joke, like my whole person, I'm a joker? No, I was just laughing at something 2 hours ago. That's a fleeting emotion. I didn't let that emotion totally define who I am, though, to where somebody say, oh, he's a jokester. I laugh all the time. No. You know what I'm saying? So we got to stop identifying with these things that happen to us. These are things that happen to us and they are not permanent. So I'm choose not to identify with that. You know, I was laughing 2 minutes ago or two hours ago. Now I'm serious. I'm not a jokester. I'm not a serious person. I'm just an individual that has different emotions. You know what I'm saying? I don't identify with any of that. So that's why when people call me stuff like that, I just laugh at them. Oh, you a serious person? You don't know me. You chill with me throughout the day. I'm gonna have all the emotions, minus shedding tears. But I'm a laugh. I'm gonna be serious. You know, I'm a joke. You know, I'm gonna do all of that. You know, so I don't identify with any of those to where it totally defines who I am. I don't define myself by saying, man, I'm a serious person. No, I have serious moments, but I'm not gonna say I'm a serious person. It just depends on the day and it depends on what I'm tapping into. Yeah, they mess with stream for sure. They always do it when I getting well into my build. Man, Torenzo, that's crazy. It's crazy, man. 40 is young. 50 is young. Man, listen. My grandfather 90. Like that's when I'll be like, all right, man, we reaching that status. Man, the word old is crazy to me. especially considering how fast everything moves. Like, man, 40 years is nothing. 40 years is nothing. The way time is flying by, man, it's nothing, you know. So I always find it funny how people identify with age and calling themselves old and just calling other people old. Like, I don't even, man, I don't even talk like that. I try my best not to, at least when I'm serious. Like, I might, if I joke, you might catch me talking like that, man. But for the most part, I don't even put that type of energy into the atmosphere. Yeah, I don't put that energy into the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even entertain that. 40, man. Shoot, especially for black men, like for black men, like that's when we start really getting to the money for the most part, man. It like we hit 40. That's when we really start getting to the money and finding ourselves career wise, like the 40. You know what I'm saying? Like we just start getting to the money there, which is messed up. Right, clocks in. They start throwing around labels like the uncles are not getting younger and younger by the generation. Like calling me an now is really not an insult. You know what I mean? Because uncles now are young. I was an uncle at like 10, like 9. Like I was a legitimate uncle when I was 9. So you know what I'm saying? Like, man, what you calling me an uncle ain't really that ain't as bad as y'all thinking. I am an uncle, and I was an uncle since I was 9. Me and my nephew are like 9 years apart. So yeah, I am uncle. Yeah, I was uncle at 9. I had a young nephew that was calling me uncle when I was 13, 14. So right. So I don't even be entertained. I don't even entertain that, man. I just put the right foods in my system. I keep my mind sharp, man, and I'm moving. I'm moving gracefully. You know, I just try to take care of my body to the best of my abilities, man. And I consume the right information, man, and I just do what I need to do. That's it. Like I don't even worry about age. I don't worry about my age. I don't let that create a sense of panic within me. Like that's what folks be doing. They let that age create a sense of panic with them. They start panicking. Man, I'm 45 and I ain't nowhere near, man. Like, listen, I know people that just start getting some things figured out in their 60s, fam. As long as you get it figured out, it's never too late. Never too late, bro. You ain't nothing. It's never too late. Just keep putting things into motion. Keep thinking, using that creative mind, keep experimenting, keep putting things into motion. And all you need is for one thing to crack. That's it. And if you stay committed and you keep using that creative energy and you keep implementing, something is going to crack. Something is going to crack. Man, your son, I be forgetting, man. Folks ask, if you ask me how old I am at the wrong time, like I'm about to forget. I might tell you the wrong age. I've done that. Man, you ask me if I'm on the go, man, you ask me my age, man, I'm about to tell you 2 years younger than what I am. I forgot. Man, I don't really be caring, like, cause I don't even be caring to celebrate B-days or none of that, man. It's just another day, man. Every day I'm celebrating being alive, so I don't really be caring about a B-day for real. I'm good. So I just be forgetting. But yeah, it's never too late, man. Never too late. I don't like when people even put that in the atmosphere, man. If you come up with a bright idea at 60, put it into motion. So you 75 and you just thought of something. It ain't too late. Put it into motion. Like, what is we on? Put it into motion. I'm always be putting something into motion. I ain't gonna never be walking around like, man, I'm too old to be doing that. Nah. Like I'm good. So I don't sit and create that panic within myself, man, feeling like I got to rush to do things because I'm a certain age. Nah, man, when you take care of yourself, man, you all good. So that's all I focus on, is taking care of myself. Just take care of yourself. Man, Tony, hey, for sure. You ain't got to worry about. You already know I'm vegan, so I don't eat none of that. And I been an introvert, and I'm gonna tell you, like, this is something. Like, listen, one of the main key, like, one of the things, like, we got to do better with our relationships between black men and black women, because I feel like that's also one of the, like, that is something that is an underrated or underlying reason to why our life expectancy is the way that it is, man. We got to just do better with that, man. Like, if you get into the wrong relationships, plural, if you get into the wrong relationship, singular, man, that can literally kill you. And I'm not talking about somebody taking a gun, shooting you, or taking a knife and stabbing you in the chest. Like, if a relationship is too stressful, that is killing you. And we tend to have some of the more stressful relationships. Man, that's not good for your health, fam, at all. Like, at all. So if you are continuing to communicate with somebody who is stressing you out, fam, you need to leave. Like, seriously, your blood pressure is going to continue to elevate. And that's going to lead to heart problems and all type of other issues, on top of you holding in emotions, suppressing energy. So, like, nah, fam, like, you gotta, your relationship is key. Not only your relationship to yourself, but your relationship to other people. You cannot be in relationships with people who are stressing you out. That will kill you. And that will almost kill you quicker than anything else, for real. Because when you stressed out in a relationship, it don't even matter how healthy you eat, fam, because your mental is not right, man. So that's impacting the quality of the food that you consume because you stressed out internally. So you got to make sure, man, you surround yourself with people who do not stress you out. Fam, like, that's one thing that I feel like we sweep under the rug when it comes to just living a long life, being in peaceful relationships. Sylvetta, for sure. You know, and that, man, like, that's advice I give to both sides, fam. Like, if something is stressing you out, man, like, you got to prioritize your sanity. Get out of that, man. Remove yourself from that situation. Because, again, you're stressing yourself, that your blood pressure gonna rise, man. Your blood pressure gonna be elevated. You know what I mean? You're gonna start making bad decisions when you're stressed out, fam. Certain hormones get triggered, and that leads to bad decision making. You start eating the wrong foods, you start thinking the wrong thoughts, and that right there is not a good combination. You know, it's hard for you to make healthy decisions when you are in a toxic environment. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. You know, so when you are in a toxic relationship, toxic situation, man, you got to get yourself out of that. Got to get yourself out of that and stop trying to change people. You know what I'm saying? Like, if a person is showing you that they toxic, boom, accept that, keep it going. Javon, I haven't seen that directly. I can't give you any personal situation that I know of and that I've read about that has happened. But you know me, I'm always keeping hope alive, keeping an open mind, that I'm going to tell you that it's possible. I'm not going to say that it's impossible. I just don't have any personal testimony. But with enough research, I'm pretty sure I can find a regimen that will lead to the reversal of that. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen heart disease be reversed for sure. I've heard about it be reversed for sure. For sure. My fifth journey, man. Hey, I'm trying to tell you, being alone, and that's why. So, especially like when you see a person that has to jump from relationship to relationship, when we in this era of red flags, that's a red flag, because that's a person that can't be alone. That's a problem. Like, that's a problem. If you see a person that they keep going from relationship to relationship, that's a person that cannot be alone, and that is a problem. Everybody should be able to be alone with themselves, fam. Everybody should have. That's the very first relationship that should be great for you. is your relationship to yourself. You know, all these other people in your life are not guaranteed to be in your life, but you are guaranteed. The only person that's guaranteed to be with you from the moment you were born to the moment you die is you. You know what I'm saying? So that relationship should be the strongest. None of these other people are guaranteed to be in your life. So you should be able to thrive while being alone. You should be able to thrive. You should be able to thrive. But you got plenty of people who cannot thrive. Who cannot thrive while being alone. And they gotta be with somebody. That's a problem. That's a red flag. That's almost a dangerous person to be with. Because they feel like they can't be alone. That's dangerous, fam. Garland, peace, what's happening? So for real, everybody should be able to be with themselves, be alone, like for as long as you need to be. Like, don't rush nothing, man. If you got to be alone with yourself for 5 years, man, then do that. But a lot of people, man, they start rushing into situations because they can't be alone, and then they end up in toxic situation after toxic situation. Like, nah, don't rush it. A person that can stand being alone, a person that can enjoy their own company, they're not going to rush a toxic relationship. They're not going to, I ain't gonna say rush a toxic relationship. They're not going to rush a relationship in general. But y'all, man, with that being said, man, I did my hour. You know, I just be trying to keep it brief, doing my little hour stream, man. So I appreciate y'all tapping in, man. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the love as always, man. This was another powerful build on this Sunday, you know, but I'm gonna tap back in with y'all next Sunday around the same time, and I may give y'all an upload or two during this week, man. But I appreciate y'all tapping in. I'm gonna let y'all close out y'all weekend on a positive note, man. Get some things done and tackle this week, man, with a positive mindset. Let's elevate, man. But I'm out, y'all. I'll tap in with y'all Sunday. Peace.